Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and haunts.
Today's story takes us to the Pocono Mountains. I'm Sarah.
And I'm David.
Let's get into it. This season, we're being sponsored by our friends at Haunted US. They travel the country bringing you real stories of American hauntings every Thursday at hauntedus.com. So today we are talking about the Asa Packer House. Not to be confused with the Harry Packer House, which is right next door, and was the inspiration for Disney's Haunted Mansion.
And the inspiration for the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, it took me a while to get that. I was like, what? No. So this mansion, the Asa Packer Mansion, was completed in 1861 for $14,000 at the time. The home was owned by Asa Packer, who was one of 6 millionaires that were in the town. He was the founder of the Lehigh Valley Railroad and Lehigh University. And he actually came from nothing. On the tour, they told us about his life, and he started in a one-room cabin in Connecticut or somewhere north and walked his way down to the Lehigh Valley and then developed this railroad. So he was very self-made.
Yeah, I think you were right. I think it was from Connecticut.
I tried to really cement everything into my head. There's no video or photo at all on the tour, so I tried to normally I'll at least take notes on my phone, but since I didn't have my phone out at all, I tried to remember what I could.
Yeah, and the reason for that was they asked us not to take any pictures or video during the tour. So rather than risk taking notes and being asked if we were taking photos, just no.
Yeah, we just want to be respectful.
Yeah.
So Asa lived here until his death in 1879. So he only lived there for 18 years, which kind of sucks because it's a really beautiful home. But his wife and daughter lived there after he passed away, and it was their primary residence. His daughter Mary lived there till her death in 1912. So she lived there for quite a while. And she was the only remaining child of the Packers. And so when she died, she deeded the house to the borough with the stipulation that it would serve as a monument to her family and that nothing could be sold or changed within the house. So all of the furniture and everything in there is completely original.
Which is really cool. What an interesting thing to do. Because now, looking back, we have all this wonderful stuff from that period of history, and it's all well maintained.
Yeah, and there was really cool stuff in there. The house itself is an Italianate villa style, and it has hand-carved woodwork throughout, and apparently getting to the 50th wedding anniversary was a huge deal back then because people died so early. So, and these people were millionaires. So for their 50th wedding anniversary, Asa got his wife all of these beautiful things, these intricate curtains that were in their entertaining room and stained glass that was on their staircase. And so it was really cool to see all of that. That's all still there, and a testament to their love and their whole family.
Yeah, and also from Paris, right? Or France?
Yeah, it was from Paris.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very, it seems like a lot of the items that were luxury came from, Paris or, oh my goodness, Italy. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of Linden Hall a bit in the fact that they were just gifted. Oh, yeah, because didn't they have, an item that the Queen of England had given them? They're just, gifted this stuff by foreign dignitaries because they're so rich.
Yeah, they were gifted. Oh, I don't remember what the item was.
Remember. A mirror, maybe? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, was it the mirror?
But a fun fact, when Mary inherited everything from Asa when her mom died, she was the second richest woman in the world, only overtaken by the Queen of England.
Oh, that's interesting. That makes me now think of Sarah from, oh my gosh, Linden Hall. I wonder where she was in wealthy women at that time.
I don't know. It said that her fortune was billions in today's money. And I mean, that makes sense. One of the really cool parts of the house, historically to me, was they had a music machine on the second floor. And because the noise pollution used to be so much less in the time that the family lived in this house, they would open up all of the windows of the home and run this music machine, and it would play all throughout the town. And there's only one still existing version of this machine, and it's in the Smithsonian Museum. So it's really significant.
Yeah, and they made the claim, and I don't know if this is true or not, that the Smithsonian one does not work. Theirs does. And so they did play it for us, and it was really cool. And you could tell of all like the intricate machinery that was running in this. It's not like a small like music box. It's like an oversized like
it's like a closet.
Yeah, like it's big.
Yeah, it was really cool. Another fun fact, the chandelier in their entertaining room actually inspired the chandeliers in Gone with the Wind. And she said she didn't know how it was discovered for Gone with the Wind, but it's also interesting since the house next door inspired Disney's Haunted Mansion. Maybe there was like a movie studio that was in the Poconos, like vacationing in the Poconos, or a producer.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the Poconos are like a popular vacation area.
Yeah.
Like, so like it wouldn't shock me that it's like, oh, let's go to this small area and be like, that house is really cool. I bet I can make a haunted thing with that.
Or this house is beautiful. We should use it to inspire another very wealthy family.
Yeah.
So guests are not allowed above the second floor, allegedly due to structural damage. But there was another really cool thing that our tour guide told us. She said that there was vintage Louis Vuitton trunks up there, and there was actually one in Mary's mother's bedroom. But the ones on the third floor allegedly have Titanic stickers on them, because the Packers were supposed to be on the Titanic, but they last minute changed their plan and sold their ticket. I cannot imagine how cool it is to see that and what those trunks are worth.
Yeah, I just to see the trunks themselves, especially with, the Olympics, and that Louis Vuitton sponsored so much of the Olympics, and that everyone was getting Louis Vuitton everything. So it'd be really just interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. We were talking about, because the house was so intricate and beautiful, we were talking about if we could have one item from the house, what would we have? And I think most of us said those trunks.
No, mine was actually a clock on the second floor.
Not the music box, I'm surprised.
No, the music box, unfortunately, is very, very large, and that was what ultimately was a no for me.
You don't want that in our living room?
I'm not quite sure where we'd put that. It is that big.
Yeah.
No, it was this really cool clock that on the front, it was ornate in the front, but the mirror in that room, you could see the side of the clock, and it was this beautiful sapphire blue. And I was like, cool. That's really cool.
Oh, you did say that you saw it. You happened to catch it.
Yeah, and I was like, that's really beautiful clock. Like
that's
that'd probably be my item.
Yeah, so really cool. They definitely focus on the history and not the hauntings on the tour. In fact, we couldn't find anywhere on their website or anywhere associated with the company that they talked about hauntings. And when I asked about it to the staff, they didn't respond very well. But let's jump into the paranormal story. So people report a decent amount of paranormal activity happening from actually the street level itself, which is interesting because the house is up on this massive hill. And I guess like they were kind of looking down on everyone.
Oh, I get it. As a ghost, I'm not climbing those stairs.
Yeah, I'm just staying right here.
I'm right. Yeah, I'm happy at the street level.
Yeah. So while no one currently resides in the house, locals report that they see smoky shapes and disembodied eyes looking out of the windows on the first and second floor at night, as if they're watching the goings on.
Disembodied eyes. That I'm a little skeptic on that one, just because of the distance from like street to the house itself.
I was thinking that, like, are they gigantic eyes?
Yeah, like it's a fair distance.
Yeah.
So either like you have extremely hawk like vision, or you're, I don't know.
Even smoky figures. Like it's pretty far up. But the other thing is, like, I guess they do have a fence around the property, but if you're closer to it, like up by the Harry Packer house, where like they were more level, you could probably see the windows a bit better.
Yeah, from that I could understand, but from like the actual like street level, that's
a stretch maybe.
Maybe a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
The figures I could see though. You could probably see like somebody like move, like a shadow moving across the window. Still, but eyes, that's a little specific for me.
And I think it's really interesting because something the tour guide said is that Asa Packer would actually go to the top tier of the house. They had like a widow's walk almost up there. And he would stand up there and watch the trains because he was the founder of the Lehigh Valley Railroad. And he would time them to make sure that they were there on time. And if not, he would run down and ask what was happening. So it's almost to me like Asa is still looking out for his trains.
That makes sense. And that's cool. And the train still does exist.
Yes,
and
it's
it's
running.
historic. Yeah, it's a historic train ride you can do now.
Yeah.
Hi, listeners. We're so excited to tell you about our partnership with Haunted US. Haunted US is an online publication that brings you credible articles on the history and specific paranormal claims of haunted locations across the country. We've even used them to research some of our episodes. Visit hauntedus.com for new haunted places every Thursday.
There are also reports of Mary haunting the house, and I think this one makes a ton of sense. She's actually seen throughout the whole town, shifting through different Packer family properties. She's said to be short, plump, dressed in plain clothes, and that she still wears very thick glasses, even in her afterlife. And that's part of how they can identify her. She's said to specifically, as I said, go to the Packer family properties as if she's overlooking them. And it makes sense. She lived in the mansion for, 50 years, 51 years. That's a long time for her to live there. So I think it would make sense that she stayed there. You know, she died there. It was close to her heart. She did marry in her life, but she married just so that she could get her inheritance, and her husband didn't spend a lot of time together. He actually lived in Florida. So it makes sense to me that she would reside in her family home in her afterlife.
Yeah, fun note on the home that they had in Florida. They would often ship that music box we keep mentioning back and forth every time they went down to Florida.
Crazy to me.
Yeah,
Cost.
The cost of shipping that, it must be huge, like to the point where it's like you probably could have easily bought another, maybe two, for the cost of like the amount of times you shipped it back and forth.
I said that, remember? But the woman was like, well, it was a piece from Switzerland, so they weren't easy to come by. Because I was like, why didn't you just buy two? She has all this money.
Right, like just have one in both.
Yeah, but she said they were hard to come by because they're Swiss.
Well, that, and I believe that. The machinery, there was probably a lot of that was like handmade. Probably very hard to create multiple of those.
Yeah. So to talk about our family's experiences. So our family likes to go with us to haunted locations and support us. And we try to be as honest with our accounts as possible and not sway each other. So part of how we do it is David or I will start typically, and we'll say our full account, and then the next person will say theirs, and then the next person, and then the next person. That way we're not feeding off of each other or like encouraging it. We try to maintain being as unbiased as possible is what I'm trying to say. Can we be completely unbiased? No. So I'm going to go through what me, my brother, and my dad said, and then you can talk about your experiences. So you start by going into Asa's office, and both myself and my brother had a really negative feeling there, as if we were unwelcome. I thought this was going to be a unique feeling to me because women weren't allowed in the office at the time. So I thought that makes sense. Asa doesn't want me there. I'm a female, get out type thing. Or maybe Asa doesn't want people in the room in general. But my brother said he also felt rushed, as if he needed to move out of the room. And part of that, I think, is because he probably had a lot of secrets in his office. He doesn't want people seeing it, stuff like that. The biggest place where we had a emotional response, I'll say, was the kitchen. And me, my dad, and my brother all said that we felt incredibly anxious and stressed in the kitchen. And it was a small kitchen. Like our downstairs bathroom is probably the size of what that kitchen was, and it had to serve the whole house, and they had events there, including weddings. So we all had this really negative feeling there. It seems like residual energy of the stress that might have come from trying to cook in that tiny kitchen. And it was so small that they sometimes used the next door laundry room for extra space.
Yeah, so to support that, I do not believe that these meals were small, because just before, when you enter the kitchen, there's the china cabinet. And the china cabinet had, I noted, so many serving dishes, small, big, like multiple of every size. So it wouldn't be just like, here's like, an entree and a side. It seemed like there would be very big, extravagant dinners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it makes sense to have that emotional response. And then right after that, the kitchen, right off the kitchen, you go up and you're immediately in the staff quarters. So I think it makes sense. This was probably the most frequented parts of the house by the staff, running up and down this tiny staircase to serve people. And it seems like they had good relationships with the Packers. I'm not trying to say anything about that, but I'm sure it was still very stressful. I mean, you work for some of the richest people in the world. You don't want to mess up. So I think that emotional response makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely, it sounded like they treated their servants well. I mean, even to the point, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing the thunder,
No.
that they purchased the first Hoover vacuum.
Yeah.
Which they do have on the second floor.
Mm-hmm. So that was my experience there. What about you? Any paranormal happenings?
No, I can't say that. Well, I think I felt more rushed out of the first room because the office is decent sized, but the tour was a good size as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that is probably why I felt a little rushed out of the office. Otherwise, it just felt like a very place of business. Mm-hmm. So nothing like out of the ordinary. The next room over with the ornate, oh my goodness, curtains. Thank you. It felt very positive. It was just like a very, like, we could be here for a while kind of room. Also, something of note, or at least I thought that was really cool, was I'm not sure if I've ever seen it or have realized it, was it wasn't wallpaper. Oh my goodness. It was
the
glue
sand.
with sand,
Yeah.
where then the artist would like trace and draw.
They would put the
leaves.
stencil up and then they'd put sand on the wall so that it was in the shape of the stencil. I forgot about that. That's a cool detail.
Yeah, that one was really cool. And then it was in the dining room, was it? That had another, or was it in the hallway?
It was in the
between?
hallway. They had another one.
Yeah, they had another one where it was, what was it? Graphite? Not graphite. Gravel, yes. Mm-hmm. It was like small like really fine gravel too.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't seen it before. I thought that was really cool.
Cool concept.
Very cool concept. I agree that the kitchen felt very rushed, but also I was really like spinning my wheels of like, where did you do all the prep work for like these big extravagant dinners? There was a small stove, no counters or anything. So like in terms of like preparation, so like there's no like prep space that I could really see. So then I was like, I wonder if there was an outdoor kitchen, something that both your dad and I did not voice it, but I also felt it, is going up the stairs felt very like laborious, even though it was a small set of stairs.
Oh, I forgot that he said that. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I find myself like way more winded for like a set of maybe like 10 stairs. Not much.
I forgot. Yeah, my dad did say that. And for context, he just went on a giant hiking trip, so he's a very fit person. He would not be out of breath going up and down the stairs.
Yeah. I did not just do a giant hiking trip. However, I do not think I'm so unfit.
But you're also young.
Yeah, that I don't think 10 stairs are going to do me in like that.
Yeah.
So I found that very interesting as well. Where I was like, wow, felt way more burdensome.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's definitely a lot of residual energy in that little area. And overall, I agree. I had a really positive feeling from the house. It seemed like the staff were family to the Packers and everybody seemed to get along. A lot of their staff was very long time running and had, a permanent place in the home. And it said that they were compensated pretty well. So yeah, there were some indentured servants there. So I'm not going to say like, oh my gosh, the Packers are great and there's nothing wrong. But we definitely got a skewed version of the history, I'm sure.
Sure, biased.
Biased, yeah.
There was also a caretaker that they had a separate house for because they had several greenhouses, which I assume was like where the majority like the vegetables would come from. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. That house is still there, just not a part of the estate anymore.
And a part of the tour, yeah.
Or a part of the tour, yeah. And the greenhouses, unfortunately, are no longer there either.
Yeah. So, knowing all the paranormal stuff, having been there, would you go back?
Yeah, I'd go back.
Would you stay overnight?
Yes, I would.
And would you do a full investigation?
Yeah, and I would, crazy things happen during investigations, and all the Louis Vuitton trunks just...
One missing.
They apparated. They're just gone.
That's so strange. Where did they go? Don't check my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go back for an investigation, but given how private they are, I'm sure that it would not happen. I just think it could be cool, and these these people sound like characters is what I mean. Like, they have like big personalities. I want to talk to Mary. I want to talk to Asa, interact with them, learn more about their lives. What don't we know?
Yeah, and Mary sounds like a really nice person, especially with I think back to the music box often, they'd open up the windows, and Sarah mentioned there was no noise pollution. They'd just play it for the town. And apparently, like, when there's no noise pollution, you can actually hear it across the valley.
Yeah, how pleasant. I would love to do an investigation here. I just don't think they would let us do it.
Yeah, that's a shame, but I also understand, right?
Yeah, and you can't stay overnight here, but you can stay overnight in the Harry Packer House, the one that inspired Disney's Haunted Mansion ride, but it is allegedly not haunted itself.
So then we'll just set up a bunch of cameras pointing it at the actual haunted location.
I did think about that, like infrared cameras and stuff, but you'd have to get a room on the right side of the house and like really zoom it in. There'd be no way.
And then, all the power required to run all that equipment.
Yeah, then we blew the fuse because the houses were built in the 1800s. Yeah, that's how we got kicked out and banned. So that is the Asa Packer House in the Pocono Mountains. We hope that you enjoyed the history and hauntings of this mansion. If you have any other places that you recommend for us to go, be sure to let us know on social media or via email. Thanks for tuning in and listening to this week's episode. Be sure to tune in next Thursday to see what history and hauntings we discuss next. Stay spooky, my friends.